Thank you for joining us on another Vegan Pulse. I am your host, Nancy Arenas. Today, another segment of Making Sense with Gabriel. We'll be right back. Hi, Gabriel. How are you?
I'm doing great, Nancy. How about you?
Okay. I have a question for you. Are there ways that I can boost my metabolism?
Great question. The first thing that comes to mind is exercise. The more we use our bodies, we're using our muscles, and that's going to be kind of the greatest sources of calorie consumption. So our body's needing calories to do things are going to be our skeletal muscles. Those are the muscles that move our bones, right? So the muscles that are going to move our legs and move our arms and move our necks, our skeletal muscles, and then our brains. Our brains need a lot of energy because that's one of the things that makes us unique as humans. So we have these big brains in our heads compared to the overall size of our body, and our brains utilize they need a lot of nutrition to pump out all these great thoughts that we're thinking all the time and inventions and everything that we come up with as humans. And so we have to use our minds and we have to use our bodies to burn more calories, to consume more nutrition, more nutrients. And so, yeah, if you want to boost your metabolism, start using your body. And in America, that's a big problem because most of us, I heard a statistic recently, this isn't a quote, but I know that a majority of Americans, anytime we think a majority, we're talking about more than half, right? More than 50%. I think a majority of Americans don't exercise on a regular basis, a regular exercise routine. And so that's just one of the most basic things. It's so bad for our health when we don't move our bodies. And it can be so simple. If you're somebody who's right now living a pretty sedentary lifestyle, you wake up in the morning, you get in a car, you drive to work, you sit in an office environment like I do here. I'm in an office space. And then you get back in the car, you drive home, and then you sit on the recliner and you eat TV. You take out the TV dinner, or you just get on Instacart or Uber or something like that, and you just have them bring you takeout. You don't even have to stand up and cook your food and get active. Then you're living a very sedentary lifestyle. And there's just a whole bunch of reasons why, from a long-term health perspective, that's bad. We don't use our bodies. We can't keep our bones strong. And then we suffer from things like osteopenia and osteoporosis. And then we're at great risk for we're more likely to fall because we don't have the strength to maintain our balance. If we have a little slip or something happens as we start to age, and then we break a hip or something, and it's once people break a hip, their life expectancy just goes down through the floor. It's really hard to recover from a major fracture like hip fractures, which usually result in hip surgeries. Those are big things. And it's like we have to use our bodies more. We have to maintain strength. We have to maintain balance. We have to maintain fitness if we want to avoid those things down the road. And so exercise is so important for our overall health. And like I say, the more we're using our bodies, our muscles are going to consume more energy. That's going to boost our metabolism. And then there's a whole variety of other things that we can do. Just by eating lots of fiber, our guts are having to work harder to push all that, all the fiber from the fruits, the vegetables, the beans, the whole grains, the seeds, what else am I forgetting? The nuts, all these different things. And then don't forget fungus. Fungus is very good for us. And that, the popular term for fungus in the culinary perspective is mushrooms. All these different plant foods and fungus, which isn't a plant, but we kind of lump them in there with vegetables. Very good for us. We need to eat all that fiber in order to maintain good gut health. And our guts, actually, it's not a huge amount of calories, a huge amount of metabolism difference. But our guts literally will use more energy to digest all that plant matter because that fiber takes a lot of work to break down and to move through the gut. And then there's a bunch of other little things that you can do, like just by adding a teaspoon or two of any type of vinegar throughout the day. So vinegar is, of course, a great way to add that is in a salad dressing. Salads are great because we're getting a lot more vegetables when we're eating salads. Vegetables, wonderful. But then even just adding the vinegar to the salad has been shown to basically boost our metabolism. It can help us cut more body fat if we're trying to lose excess body fat on our bodies, just by adding a little bit of vinegar on a daily basis. And that's so easy, right? Because vinegar you can throw into a lot of different dishes. You don't even know it's there. Basically, it just adds a little bit of a tangy flavor. And then, of course, vinegars are great on salads. And think about all the varieties. You can have The apple cider vinegar mixes great with different Italian spices to make, like an Italian type dressing. You can use apple cider vinegar for something like that. You can use red wine vinegar. I love red wine vinegar. Again, mixed with a little bit of oil. You don't even have to use oil, or you can mix it with nut butters. You can mix it with seed butters like tahini. Salad dressing is really good with nuts and seed butters and different vinegars mixed in. And then think about all the varieties of balsamic vinegar. It has such beautiful flavors. They have all these wonderful infused balsamic vinegars, from dark chocolate balsamic vinegar to fig balsamic vinegar to pomegranate balsamic vinegar, right? So try some of these different vinegars out. They're great for, like I say, losing excess body fat. And it's something that costs pennies, and it makes our food taste better. It makes us healthier. And vinegars are also good because they help us control our blood sugar if we're pre-diabetic or we're type 2 diabetic, and when our blood sugar control is kind of out of whack and our blood sugars are too high. Vinegars are great for that. There's probably a whole host of other things that you can do to boost your metabolism, but those are the basics, right? Eat more fiber. But when it comes to fiber, you got to start low and go slow. So those are the two big things that you got to remember with fiber. Start so low and slow, right? So because most Americans have a low fiber diet, and that's really bad because fiber is essential for our gut health. Most of us should be eating more fiber. The average American gets 15 grams of fiber per day. The average minimum requirement is 31 grams. That's if you average men and women. The minimum requirement for women is about 25. The minimum requirement for men is something like 38. You put the two together, that averages to about 31, for all Americans, all American adults. And that's the minimum. So think about it, the minimum being 31 grams. The average American is literally getting less than half of what the minimum are. But we want to, if you go straight from 15 to 30 or straight from 15 to wherever, most people are going to have bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea, a whole host, stomach pain, a whole host of different digestive woes or digestive difficulties. And so what I tell people is you start low and you go slow as you're increasing it. So if I'm at 15 grams now, I might add maybe an additional 5 grams at the most. And I do that consistently for 1 week, 2 weeks, however long it takes for my gut to get used to that. And then once I feel super comfortable, I'm able to get enough fiber in on the daily basis. I'm doing 20 grams a day instead of 15. I do that for a while. I've got it down pat. After that, you can go up to as much as 25. Don't go any more than 5 grams in each of your stair steps as you're climbing your way up toward the average minimum, which would be 25 for women, 38 for men. And again, those are just minimums. Most of us on a whole natural diet that's made up of a lot of these health promoting foods, beans, seeds, nuts, whole grains, fruits, vegetables, herbs, and spices. We should be eating all those different types of plant foods. Could easily get way above the average minimum requirement. But we don't want to go from 0 to hero overnight. And that's a really important thing to remember.
So, and that's why I guess, people will tell me, oh, I can't eat beans and I can't eat that because they just upset my stomach, because like you said, they haven't been eating them. So all of a sudden they're like, okay, I'll do it. And then they, have too much for their system because they're not used to it. It's not because they can't have it. They just have to get their system into that more healthier kind of.
Yeah, our gut is just, think about, one of the easiest metaphors, I think, or analogies for people to grok or to grasp and understand is exercise. I can't go from being a couch potato to a successful marathon runner overnight. It's just not going to happen. If I start doing all the training for a marathon and I try to run a marathon, say in a month or even 6 months for a lot of people, if I'm not a seasoned veteran runner that's been doing it for years and years and years, I'm going to get terrible injuries along the way, and my body will not be able to sustain that kind of what we call a training load. Well, it's the same thing for your gut. If your gut is essentially a couch potato because it hasn't been worked by eating whole natural foods, then there's no way you can go from 0 to hero by eating an abundance of whole natural foods. Those foods can be hard to break down. And what we need to break down fiber, we as humans don't have the right enzymes, don't have the right kind of technology in our system to break down fiber. So it's considered indigestible. We can't digest it. But the things that can digest it are our gut bugs, which we call our microbiome. They exist in our large intestine. That's at the end of the digestive tract. we have this abundance of different types of bacteria living in our large intestine. And our our bacterial, microbiome, they love fiber and they can break it down. And the cool thing is when they eat and digest fiber, then they, just like us, right? We eat stuff and then we're going to eventually get rid of it. We're going to, have our excrement. We're going to have our waste. Well, bacteria is going to have waste from their digestive process as well after they eat stuff. The cool thing about that is the byproducts of their digesting the fiber that we eat actually produce beneficial compounds for our health. Some of those are called short chain fatty acids. And there's more and more research coming out about this, but literally some of those short chain fatty acids will communicate with our brains. And when we're eating an abundance of fiber, these whole healthy foods, they can actually curb our appetite and they can help prevent overeating because they're telling our brains, we've got this abundance of really healthy food because of all this fiber that we're eating down here. We know that this body is well nourished. So we're going to communicate that there's this great nourishment going on so that this human isn't going to think that I have to go into it's not constantly in starvation mode thinking, oh man, I got to eat more and more and more. This body's well nourished. We're going to tell that to the brain so that this person doesn't eat. That's literally what our bacteria do for us. It's incredible. And it's all because of fiber. But again, we start low and we increase slowly.
And the same thing about exercise, because if you have 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes is better than nothing. And if you do 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the afternoon, really basic exercise, they say, is at least a half an hour is the minimum a day. So you could break that up. Doesn't mean it has to be all in one shot either.
Exactly. So. And it's the same thing with nutrition. We start low and, and something that's doable, that's achievable, but something that we can do consistently with exercise. And we should be doing the exact same thing with nutrition. There's nothing good to eat like a big salad once a year, right? Because it's like, oh, wow, that's a really healthy meal. But if we're eating unhealthy the other 364 days a year, that salad's not going to do us very much good. But instead, if we could just do something simple every single day, even if it's just one floret, meaning one piece of broccoli, but we're doing it every single day, that's going to have a much bigger impact for our health than eating a giant salad one day a year, right? We want the regular access to the fibers, the phytonutrients, all the wonderful vitamins and minerals that we have in whole plants. So even if it's starting with one apple or a couple pieces or even one piece of broccoli, but you do it every single day, it's just like paying dividends into your system, right? If you're saving a little bit of money each day, that's going to add up over time. If you're doing a little bit of something every single day for your health, that's going to add up. And once you do that consistently, it's going to get easier and easier to make those changes all the time. So if I'm eating one piece of broccoli, but I'm doing it every single day, I guarantee you that in 2 weeks or 2 months, you're going to say, wow, I've got this down. I can do broccoli. Now I'm going to eat a little bit of red cabbage, or I'm going to eat a cup of beans, or I'm going to do something else to take that to the next level.
So eat right and exercise. Thank you, Gabriel.
We got to. We got it.
Thank you for joining us on another Vegan Pulse. I am your host, Nancy Arenas. Remember, check out our website, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have a pulse, you have a purpose. Live vegan.